Okay. So we were discussing about Siachen, and in 1984, India carried out Operation Meghdood, and they captured Siachen, which is about 70 kilometer of glacier. And let me tell you, it has no you can say strategic value for Pakistan, because India can never use this area for any offensive operation because they share border with Pakistan, and if whenever they want to carry out any operation, they can do it through plain areas and through desert areas of Rajasthan. So this area was captured as political, you can say, gimmick by the Indians. By capturing, they believed that they are going to cut Pakistan and China's canines, and it would also help India to protect themselves, their Ladakh region, because if this region goes to Pakistan automatically, so Pakistan would be able to keep closer check on Ladakh and Indian movement there. But these are flawed, you can say, gestures by the Indians. Basically, India did a very you can say a blunder. I would say it's a strategic blunder that they have deployed their forces there at a glacier which has no value in terms of strategic point of view. So basically, India and Pakistan both are now losing their soldiers on daily basis. There are about 150 manned outposts at glacier at Siachen, and about 3,000 Indian troops are deployed, and almost same size Pakistani troops are also there, and they are spending a lot of money. They are spending a lot of money on the maintenance of these troops, which is on the Indian side, if you analyze, it is about 300 million, and for Pakistan it is about 200 million respectively. So India built the world's highest helipad on the glacier at Point Sonam, which is about 21,000 feet above the sea level, to supply its troops with logistics and other things. So this was the violation of actually Simla Agreement, which I told you before. Article 1, 2 of the Simla Agreement clearly says that pending the final settlement of any problem between the two countries, neither side shall unilaterally alter the situation. Secondly, Article 4 clearly says the line of control shall be respected by both sides, and both sides shall refrain from threat or use of force in violation of this line. So this was clearly violation of the Simla Agreement, in which India violated, and India captured Siachen in 1984. So after capturing Siachen in 1984, India established itself there. Pakistan, carried out many operations to take back Siachen and other areas. But because of the high altitude, because of the harsh weather conditions, Pakistan could not retrieve Siachen from the Indian clutches, and ultimately it was beyond Pakistan's reach. इसके अलावा सियाचिन के ऊपर एक दो और चीजें मैं डिस्कस करना चाहता हूँ about the Siachen glaciers, you can say, value as a in environmental point of view. So according to environmental point of view, Siachen glacier has been retreating for past 30 years and is melting at an alarming rate. So why? Because of the presence of the Indian forces there, and they are polluting this particular region with their dumping and all these things. In an 11-year period, the glacier had receded nearly 800 meters, and in 17 years, about 1,700 meters. So it is predicted that the glaciers of Siachen region will be reduced to about 1/5 of their current size by 2035. And this is the environmental impact of this particular issue, because Indians are also there, and they are supplying their kerosene and other aviation fuel to these outposts, and also these glaciers are melting because of the presence of the Indian military there. And they are also mountaineers who visited the area while on climbing expedition witnessed large amount of garbage, empty ammunition shells, parachutes are dumped on the glacier that neither decomposes nor can be burned because of the extreme climate conditions. So this is the environmental impact which the presence of India and Pakistan and India especially is to be blamed, because Every day, Indians are, dumping about 1,000 kilogram of waste on this glacier. So, which is, definitely, which is very serious thing which is there. Secondly, it is also impacting the, species, rare species which are there, and like especially, the snow leopard, ibex, and these bears. So the Indians are, creating seriously, impacting the environment at that time, at Siachen, in current position. India, on the other side, after 1990, India started fencing this line of control between India and Pakistan. In 1972, I told you that after Simla Agreement, this line was considered as line of control. So what happened after that? Actually, in 1980s, when the Soviet Union left, in the 1990s, when the Soviet left Afghanistan, so the people who were fighting against the Soviet Union, like Lashak-I-Tayyaba at that time, Jaish-I-Muhammad, and many other terrorist groups who were fighting against the Soviets, they were, without any job, and their only job and training was to fight against the, Soviet Union in a guerrilla warfare. So Pakistan turned these people, turned these militants to Kashmir, and in 1990 there was uprising in Kashmir, and that uprising, created serious troubles for the Kashmiri people, and of course for the Indian forces. So after what happened after that? After that, India in 1990 started fencing the border with Pakistan, which was known as LOC, line of control, and they started double row fencing, and they manned this particular line of control just to protect themselves from any infiltration of the militants from across the border. So basically, this fencing is not normal fencing. This is double row fencing, wide 8 to 12 feet in height. It is electrified. Electrified का मतलब बिजली वगैरह उसके अंदर करंट दिया हुआ है, and connected to a network of motion sensors. Motion sensors का मतलब ये है कि any movement could be detected. अगर वो अंडरग्राउंड जाने की कोशिश करेंगे तो भी डिटेक्ट हो जाएगी, ऊपर से जाने की कोशिश करेंगे जंप करके किसी तरीके से सीढ़ी लगा के कुछ भी, तो that would be detected in that particular area. Plus thermal imaging devices are also installed. ये क्या चीज होती है? This is basically LOROS, long range reconnaissance and observation system. It is a radar which provides thermal imaging even at night. And India bought this particular thing from Israel in 2003, and they installed this particular radar on the border, on the line of control, and it can detect incoming about 16-kilometer area. It can track 16-kilometer area, and day and night it can provide information to the command center. Then you got lightning systems and alarms. If any people, any insurgents, they try to sneak in, so there would be fast alert signals, and to the Indian troops who can be alerted and ambush the infiltrators trying to sneak in. After the fencing, it is reported that 80% of the cross-border movement of the militants stopped. And you have seen that in 2004, this fencing was completed. In 1990, they started, and it took almost 14 years to complete. So now 80% of this infiltration from Pakistan, you can say, from AJK and other areas, have been stopped. And this is one of the reasons that insurgency in Kashmir has gone down after 2004, especially. Why? Because the supplies are not that good. So this was another aspect of line of control in Kashmir. Okay, another important aspect of Kashmir is the human cost of Kashmir. According to different estimates, over about 8,000 people are still missing in Kashmir, and according to different estimates, about 150,000 people have been killed in Kashmir so far since 1948. So this is the human cost which is there, and 20,000 women have been raped in Kashmir. Another important thing was highlighted recently, that 2,700 unmarked graves were recovered in 55 villages of Kashmir, like Kupwara, Baramulla, and Bandipora districts. And according to these reports, They were the people who were, killed after the, 1990 uprising. And, thousands of people are, still buried in those graves. And this is a gross violation of the human rights in Kashmir. If you analyze the current situation in Kashmir and the Indian, you can say, human rights violations, you will find massacres of the population in many parts of Kashmir, and 2,700, graves, unmarked graves, would tell you the story behind massacres. Fake encounters, this has been normal and common in Kashmir. Disappearances, torture, sexual violence, it is also there. India has carried out about rapes of about 20,000 women, and they did not even, spare 80,000, 80 years women, just to punish any jihadist, or you can say mujahideen, and if they carry out, rape in their villages, just to punish them. Mass graves, as I told you before, extrajudicial killings is, normal routine in Kashmir. And of course, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. So all these things are there in Kashmir, and they are seriously, impacting you can say, the human aspect, human security aspect of Kashmir. These are the details of these acts, and you can read it later on. So mass graves in Indian held Kashmir, they were, recovered recently, and now they are trying to identify those people who are there. They were buried in, in mass graves, and their remains are being, they are trying to know who these people are through their DNA, and they are, matching their DNA with the people who have lodged complaints of their missing kids. So this is something which is, very, very, you can say, brutal when it comes to the on the Indian side. According to the missing persons in, Association of Parents Disappeared Persons, which estimate around 10,000 people have been gone missing in past 20 years. So they might, end up in these unmarked graves. Torture and execution is normal routine there. According to the US leaked diplomatic cable, it says that, in 2005, International Committee of Red Cross, they said about the use of electrocution, beating, and sexual humiliation against the hundreds of detainees, Kashmiri detainees in the Indian custody. So such type of, torture and execution is normal routine when it comes to Kashmir. And according to different reports, there has been, gross violations of human rights. After 2016, the Kashmir struggle has taken a new shape. And previously, the Pakistani role was there, definitely, in which Pakistan backed militias. They were fighting in Kashmir. But what happened recently is a different thing. There is a new generation of, freedom fighters, you can say, or jihadists, you can say, like Burhan Wani Vagara. They are the, product of, Indian atrocities, and they are the locals. Actually, this is the local freedom struggle which is going on there, in which the Burhan Wani was a young kid, and like Burhan Wani, there are many other young kids who are still operating in, Indian held Kashmir, and they are fighting a low intensity conflict with the Indians. They are not enjoying that active support from Pakistan, because Pakistan is unable to send now hundreds of troops and hundreds of mujahideen from Pakistani side, because the satellites are there, the other equipment are there. So it is not that easy to send now, fighters or infiltrators from Pakistani side. So the locals, Kashmiri young kids, now they have taken up arms, and now they are fighting against the Indians, and they are, showing the new brand. So after 2016 uprising, after the Burhan Wani's killing, there has been, widespread violence in Kashmir, in which, about 200 people, they have been killed in different uprisings. So in that process, the Indians have killed many people in Kashmir, and there have been almost 9,000 people have been arrested. So India is using brute force in Indian held Kashmir today, in which 15,000 people have been injured in pellet guns, and this issue is getting worse day by day. Now the question is, why the international, you can say, community, they are not taking it seriously? Why the major powers, like including the United States of America, European countries, and of course the Russians, they are not speaking? China is taking up this issue. China supports Pakistan's narrative, but why the other four veto powers, they are not taking this issue seriously, and why they are not criticizing or stopping India from its atrocities in Kashmir? So in this slide, you will understand in detail that the Indians, they have got strategic alliances with these major powers, like for example, America, Russia, and Europe. These three countries, or you can say these three centers of power, they are part of veto as well. They are part of United Nations Security Council as well. The four countries from UK and France, Russia, and America, they are veto powers. They are, why they are not saying anything, why they are not taking up this issue seriously? The reason is one, that they have got strategic alliances, political, economic, and strategic alliances with the Indians. Like for example, America and India, they have got partnership about $100 billion Indo-US strategic partnership. In last 10 years, the Americans have supplied weapon and equipment, aircraft, helicopters of about $15 billion worth to the Indians. So they are in close strategic and economic collaboration, and they don't want to lose that. So this is the reason now they are they are not taking this issue seriously, and they never issued any harsh statement over Kashmir. Now take the example of Russia. Now Russia is another very important member of the international community. They are veto power. They are very powerful country. They are nuclear weapon state. They possess more than 6,000 nuclear warheads. But even today, they never sought, they never said anything which is, going to help the Kashmiri people. They have always criticized the Kashmiri freedom struggle, and they labeled it as a terrorism and a terrorist movement. Why? What was the reason? The reason is simple, that even today, the Indians, they are buying 70% of arms from the Russians. So this defense collaboration is worth of billions of dollars. India is buying aircraft carrier from the Russia. Su-30, the backbone of Indian, you can say, Air Force. They have bought about 275 such aircraft, which are very high profile and highly sophisticated aircraft from the Russians. The backbone of the Indian Army, T-90 tanks. They have bought about 900 such tanks from the Russians. Nuclear submarines, Kula-2, they have bought from the Russians. Surveillance and reconnaissance aircraft, S-400 air defense system. So many other defense systems and equipment, weapon and equipment, they have bought from the Russians. So 70% of the Russians, Indian arms come from Russia. So why would Russia sacrifice their, a huge defense collaboration with for Kashmir? So the Kashmir is nothing for them. Europe, like France and UK, they also have got political, economic, and strategic ties. Especially the Europeans are part of NSG, and India is now under 123 agreement. They can buy uranium, enriched fuel from the NSG. So they are in a nuclear trade between India and UK and France, of course. So other than that, Rafale aircraft, India is buying from the France. Submarines, they are buying from the other European countries. Helicopters, radars, nuclear cooperation. So all these things are there. So this is one of the reasons that all these countries, including America, France, UK, Russia, they are veto powers, but they are not taking this Kashmir issue seriously because they have got political, economic, and strategic ties with the Indians. So now let's conclude on this one point agenda, that after the abolition of the Article 370, 35A, now India consider Kashmir and Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh as separate unions. So they don't consider these areas as part of a dispute. So they have actually merged these areas in Kashmir in India, and which is a violation of the United Nations Security Council. So since the abolition of Article 370, they have carried out you can say lockdown of Kashmir since I think 2018. So it is a situation is getting worse day by day in Kashmir now. So what is the way forward? What is the solution of Kashmir? The Kashmir solution is, lies under the resolutions of the Kashmir, you can say, United Nations Security Council. And according to those resolutions, Kashmir issue should be resolved according to the aspirations of the people of Kashmir. Now, the question is whether India would accept these resolutions or not. India will never accept these resolutions. Why? Because the Kashmir holds strategic, position for India and Pakistan. And all the, you can say, rivers originate from Indus. They originate from Tibet to India, then India to Pakistan. So India is upper riparian. If India lose Kashmir today, India is going to lose water of Kashmir automatically, because if Kashmir gets independent, India would be dependent on Kashmir. If Kashmir goes to Pakistan, automatically India would be dependent on Pakistan, which India don't want to do that. India would be in a serious troubled situation. So India don't want to lose that particular situation. Plus, Kashmir's value is that they can generate the water in Kashmir. It has a value of about 20,000 megawatt of electricity they can produce, which of course India have already tapped about 7,000 megawatt, and 13,000 megawatt is still left. So this is the reason that Indians are now coming up with more and more dams in Kashmir, so they can tap that particular water as well. So I think in the water issue lecture, we have covered in detail those things. So you can connect those dots there as well. So what is the solution? The solution lies only in one thing: negotiations, and uninterrupted negotiations, in which India and Pakistan must sit together and resolve this issue through negotiation. The reason behind this assertion is that India and Pakistan both are nuclear weapon states, and nuclear weapon states, they never go to war, and there is no other solution than negotiation. And those negotiations must be meaningful, they must be tangible, they must be they must produce a win-win situation for both countries. So they have to understand in detail that the Kashmir issue is now a serious matter, and the community is divided. The people of Kashmir are suffering. So there should be end to the atrocities